Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hunter Bivens, and I'm Professor of Literature and Director of the Literature Department's Undergraduate Program Committee. It's my distinct pleasure to welcome you all here today for this virtual celebration of the completion of your degrees. On behalf of myself and my colleagues, your advisors and teachers, I'd like to express my regret that we can't come together today in person in a shared space, to wish you well as you step into the future, to celebrate your achievements here, and to meet and get to know your friends and your family. Wherever you are this afternoon, we hope that you are well. Thanks go out to the Literature Department staff, especially Dylan Davies, who made today's event possible. And today's program starts out with remarks from Professor Velashny Kupon, followed by Professor Martin DeVecca. After that, the department advisors and members of the Undergraduate Program Committee will read out the names of the graduates in alphabetical order, followed by a brief poetry reading delivered by Professor Jennifer Tsong. And Professor Carla Fricero, the chair of the Literature Department, will read the names of students who have won prizes for their work throughout this year. The video concludes with a short slideshow, and we hope that you will stay around for a reception afterwards on this link where we can all talk more informally. Our students are what makes this department intellectually vital and diverse, and this video is our celebration of you.
Hello, literature class of 2021. Congratulations to each of you and to all of your family, friends, and communities whose love, support, encouragement, and belief have brought you to this day. Maybe you're watching this with them. Take a moment to thank them, because this is their day too. No one does this alone, but you have done it in extraordinary circumstances, in a year like no other. Isolated from your people, your fellow students, and your teachers, learning remotely, studying in whatever time and place you could find, and doing it as your hearts filled, all of our hearts filled, with pandemic fear and anxiety, with streets surging with protest, wildfires raging, democratic process faltering, people, maybe your people, losing jobs and homes and loved ones. Too much world for the time, not enough time for this world. So how did you do it? How did you, through all of this, manage to keep your nose in your book and your eyes on your degree? I marvel at your focus, your resilience, your commitment, your adaptability, your belief. And I'm grateful that as the world reopens and we begin to reknit the social fabric of this society, that there will be fibers in it as strong as each one of you. No words can make up for the distance between us, absent bodies in an empty room. That's what that place where we would have had graduation looks like today. But you're a literature folk, and you know that words can close distance, that they have body and sense and presence and life of their own. Some words maybe run like a river through your time here. Only you know what ones they are. The words and concepts and passages and texts that you've thought about and grappled with, made your own, saved on your phone, shared with others, talked about until your friends couldn't stand it anymore. Those words are one of your legacies. Words are not just a medium of exchange, something one person writes and another person reads, or one person speaks and another person hears, a current delivering information. Words can actually do more. They offer us comfort and shelter, wisdom and escape, introspection and connection, the suddenness of understanding, and the long horizon of imagining differently. When we need them to, words will give us a world. Think of Charles Dickens' Poor David Copperfield, his father dead, his stepfather heart of heart and heart of cane, finding his father's collection of books and taking them to his narrow attic bed. Quote, Roderick Random, Peregrine Pickle, Humphrey Clinker, Tom Jones, the Vicar of Wakefield, Don Quixote, Gil Blas, and Robinson Crusoe came out, a glorious host to keep me company. They kept alive my fancy and my hope of something beyond that place and time. they and the Arabian Nights and the tales of the genii, and they did me no harm. This was my only and my constant comfort. When I think of it, the picture always rises in my mind of a summer evening, the boys at play in the churchyard, and I sitting on my bed, reading as if for life. We don't just read to read or read to get something, meaning, knowledge, a diploma. We read for life. We read to be able to live. We read so we can live better. And having lived through this past year, you know what it is to see the world from the windows and to hope, like David Copperfield, for something beyond this place and time. Your treasured books are doubtless different from his, but perhaps you discovered some of them here. I hope, though, that your books sometimes serve you in the same way, a private library of comfort, a place of retreat and refuge that readies you for going back out into the world. David does go out. He finds a richly teeming world of social relationships, people marked by peculiar habits of language and idiosyncrasies of personality, all the varieties of human behavior, and the restorative promise of human connection. He finds the world and his place in it, and so will you. In Dr. Seuss's words, so often quoted at graduations, "Oh, the places you'll go and the things you'll see." A commencement speech is a genre. It had something like a spoken letter or a send-off note with congratulations instead of salutations, a look back at your past, a projection to your future, a closing invitation to go out into the world. But this is not just any graduation year. It's a little different, and so I want to urge you to do things a little differently. As you go places and see things, decide what you won't go back to and what you want to see differently. Going back to normal is a phrase we heard throughout this year. What would it look like? When would it happen? Who would decide? Are we there yet? But can we go back to normal when so much of life before this was not normal? It's not normal how unequal our healthcare and justice systems are, how much more precarious Black, Brown, Asian, and Native lives are, how fatally uneven the gap between the countries with vaccines to spare and those without them is, how little the country we live in is, in fact, one nation bound by care, how many people are falling through the cracks, how many folks are saddled with debt while others mint money, how reproductive rights and LGBTQIA rights continue to have to be demanded and are still being rolled back, how we still haven't seemed to get the message of planetary ecological catastrophe. In her inaugural poem, Amanda Gorman, like many of you, 22 years old, said, "The norms and notions of what just is, isn't always justice." That is a call to work. As Gorman says, let us leave a country behind that is better than the one we were left with. I believe in each of you there's a piece of that work, and maybe some of what you have learned here can carry, sustain, inspire, and dare you to that work. As literature scholars, we welcome you today to this community. We read not just because we love words, or because we work with words, but because we believe that words will take us, as Dr. Seuss echoes, from here to there, from this spot in time to another, from one way of thinking to another. So read not only to escape the world you're in, like David Copperfield, but to make the world you want. Read as if for your life, and read for our lives. Gayatri Spivak writes, "A training in literary reading is a training to learn from the singular and the unverifiable." What's singular about literary reading is that it doesn't operate through singularities, through absolutes. It doesn't lock down meaning, and it doesn't lock out the world beyond the text. We sometimes think there's literature and the real world, but you, literature major, know better. Those things aren't separated by bars, and literature can break us free sometimes to see the world differently. So read for a world in which sometimes it is fiction that can help us tell the truth. Not that capital T truth that bludgeons the world with the iron bar of universal measurement, but truth, like Gorman says, truth that tells it like it just is, truth that lifts the ideological veil, truth that demands that things get better. Reading literature is one of the ways we can see the shape of what is possible, what could be, as well as what is or what was. When we read literature, we, you, I, us, are working, and in that work there is more than a little hope. To echo Virginia Woolf, imagining Shakespeare's sister and what she might have written had she only a room of her own, quote, "If we work for her, she will come." We're in this world together, and whether you write or read, don't stop doing either, let the words take you and teach you. We won't be there, your teachers. You're on your own, but you will have the words, and they are yours. You got this.
Hi everyone, I'm Martin DeVecca, Assistant Professor in the Department of Literature and Director of the Classics program here at UCSC. First of all, I want to congratulate all you graduates today, and let's not forget the family, partners, friends, and roommates who helped you get here. Plus the various cats and doggos who've played such an outsized role in your lives and Zoom backgrounds over the past year. We can probably learn something from all those critters, in particular from the tireless persistence with which they inserted themselves into our learning experience, despite our attempts to remove them or lock them out of the room. It doesn't really matter to animals when they're not wanted. They don't really care if they're pets or pests. Speaking of pests, there's a passage from Virgil's Georgics that always inserts itself in my mind when I'm thinking about educational topics. The Georgics are a poem or a series of poems about farming, where farming is a model for the empire. It's a colonial poem if you read it straight, as plenty of colonists have done, but you can read it critically, sideways, as Virgil probably intended and as you've learned to do during your time here, for a very different result. Anyway, here's the story so far. You built your farm, you grew your grain, now you need some place to thresh it, a hard-packed floor where you can separate the wheat from the chaff. Well, good luck, because here come the pests, up from beneath the earth, to disrupt your sorting process and make away with your accumulated vegetable wealth. In the wonderful translation of our own Professor Christina Chu, next to try you, a catalogue of pests. The meager mouse has quite often set up its housekeeping right under the very area of your floor and installed a private granary, and shrews without sight's power have dug out a suite of rooms. In some hole, a toad, and all of those other earthborn creeping creatures, weevils with beaked heads, and ants that live in fear of wasted last days, their nibbling jaws utterly despoil the mighty heap of grain. Is this clear? The point is, you work hard all year long, you fill up your granary, and then these insects or toads or whatever have the gall to come along and take it for themselves. Maybe that's not fair, but there's nothing you can do about it. The pests are going to get you, whether you like it or not. Now, I could keep on talking about this from the perspective of the hard-working, dutiful accumulator, but let's do an honest self-assessment. We're the pests, not the farmer. We're trying to undermine the farm. We don't take good old-fashioned farm values for granted, nor should we. After all, 1,000 generations of good old-fashioned farm values have just about destroyed the earth. Now, I'm trying to appeal to your critical sensibilities here, to a certain skepticism about goal-oriented activity and the relentless drive towards happiness that I would hope you've picked up here after 4 years of literature classes, to say nothing of 4 years of living in the world of the last 4 years. You see that keeping on doing the same stuff we have been doing isn't going to work. Turning the earth into one big plantation means climate change, global warming, concretely the wildfires that almost burned down campus last summer. So it's not working. Not for us anyway, though it might work for the farmers, the giants upstairs, who reap bountiful harvests of which we only taste the gleanings. Coming up from below and undermining is one of the most powerful and even constructive things that we can teach you as students of literature to do. Break through the soil of the text, find the seeds of meaning that have been hoarded there and make them your own. Save them for your old age, your last days. In the meantime, you break up the soil with your labor. You make room for life in something dead. The film critic Manny Farber said there were two kinds of art. You got the white elephants, the big, moralizing blockbusters, your Avengers, but also your Green Book. Those movies have a way of sucking up all the air in the room. People are talking about them more and more. Then there's the termite art. As Farber describes it, a kind of squandering, beaverish endeavor that isn't anywhere or for anything. Think of an hour-long YouTube video of a zookeeper scrubbing a tapir with a mop. Farber goes on. A peculiar fact about termite, tapeworm, fungus, moss art is that it always goes forward, eating its own boundaries, and, likely as not, leaves nothing in its path other than the signs of eager, industrious, unkempt activity. Well, that should be us, deconstructing the house from the inside out. The house is a kind of art. Deconstructing the house is an art too. The house is a machine for living, said the architect Le Corbusier, but that means a machine for regulating life, for directing it, channeling it into patterns of family and reproduction that just make more of the same. Also, and especially in Santa Cruz, the house is a machine for excluding life, sheltering some privileged few of us indoors while shutting out the many unhoused. So when I talk about deconstructing houses, you can hear that as a metaphor, but you can also hear it literally if you want. And you could well be sick and tired of houses or homes. We've all been stuck in some kind of a house since March of last year. I have to apologize for the experience you've had, not just because online education's worse, though it certainly is worse than meeting in person, but also because most of you have been stuck at home, trapped in the world of a family just when you were working on building an independent identity of your own. You were cheated out of campus, a place you could share in common and a community that you could help shape. And that brings me to the question of politics. Aristotle says that animals are political if they work toward a common goal. He considers ants political because they do work toward a common goal, which is not destruction, but survival. By digging and robbing and feeding, ants make a world where ants can live. The funny thing about ants, for Aristotle, is that they can be political without having a government. Ants have no hierarchy. They're anarchos, without rulers, more idiomatically, anarchists. Did you learn how to be like that here? I hope you did. I hope you learned how to see hierarchies and power structures as another kind of text, ripe for termite-like chewing. And maybe it was me that told you that in one of my classes, how the biggest part of textual analysis is learning how to speak for yourself. Maybe it was another professor. On the other hand, I know that a lot of you didn't need to be told. I saw you out there on the picket lines for cola, not moving when the cops told you to move. You were powerfully skeptical about the authority that they claimed and the power that lay behind it. And eventually the cops were the ones who retreated. That's criticism in practice. You saw that it worked. It doesn't always, but sometimes it does, and that's important to remember. And the targets of your critical attention should include presidents, bosses, of course the administrative structure of this very university, and your professors. You should be undermining us. In a book on dream interpretation written in the 2nd century CE, Artemidorus of Daldis tells us that dreaming about ants crawling into your ear is usually a bad sign, unless you're a professor. In that case, the ants represent students, and the fact they're going into your ear means they're going to hear you, which is to say, take one of your classes. Then as now, big enrollments were what brought in the big money. The uncomfortable truth that Artemidorus doesn't want to talk about is that through the ear is also how you get to a professor's tastiest parts. No question, these ants are going to eat the good doctor's brain. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's, I hope, what we taught you to do after all. After 4 years of eating your professor's brains, you're well fed enough and smart enough to know that there's actually nothing left in our heads. And since you know that, there's not a lot more I can tell you by way of advice or counsel. From one ant to another, start digging, start chewing. If you undermine enough, Someday this can all be yours.
Elijah Aguibar, literature major, creative writing concentration. Dominic Aguirre, literature major, general literature concentration. Charlotte Aid, literature major, general literature concentration. Aslan Alvarez, literature major, general literature concentration. Paige Anderson, literature major, general literature concentration. Mickey Arlen, literature major, general literature with intensive language coursework. Isabella Atencio, literature major, general literature concentration. Lena Awadala, literature major, general literature concentration. Shivani Isola, Italian studies minor. Heaven Azor, literature major, general literature concentration. Maria Bailey, literature major, general literature concentration. Christian Bartido, literature major, general literature concentration. Elizabeth Bennett, literature major, general literature concentration. Caleb Berg, literature major, creative writing concentration with intensive language coursework. Corey Burnell, literature major, general literature concentration. Rebecca Blair, literature major, Spanish, Latin American, Latino literatures with intensive language coursework. Alexander Blood, literature major, general literature concentration. Madeline Brower, literature major, general literature concentration. Mae Britton, literature major, general literature concentration. Cameron Calvillo, literature major, general literature concentration. Hector Castaneda, literature major, creative writing concentration. Genesis Caudillo, literature major, general literature concentration.
Molika Chernensky, literature major, general literature concentration. Avery Cervantes, literature major, general literature concentration with intensive language coursework. Jennifer Cervantes, literature major, creative writing concentration. Andrea Choto, literature minor. Auden Cockrell, literature major, general literature concentration. Daniela Contreras, literature major, creative writing concentration. Sophie Coover, literature major, general literature concentration. Jenny Cordier, literature major, general literature concentration. Alexis Cotant, literature major, general literature concentration. Jake Crumpler, literature major, general literature concentration. Fiona Cherwinski, literature major, general literature concentration. Genevieve Damerla, literature minor. Kathia Damien, literature major, general literature concentration. Sofia de Allende, literature major, general literature concentration. Alejandra de la Vega, literature major, general literature concentration with intensive language coursework. Robin Dhaliwal, literature major, general literature concentration. Carlene Dilman Pucci, literature major, Spanish, Latin American, and Latino literatures. Isabella de Prima, literature major, creative writing concentration. Catherine Dorer, literature major, general literature concentration. Rebecca Dominguez, literature minor. Daniel Douglas, literature major, general literature concentration. Olivia Drost, literature major, general literature concentration. Sandy Dumas, literature major, general literature concentration.
Morgan Egan, literature major, general literature concentration. Jack Eves, literature major, creative writing concentration. Sarah El Khalili, literature major, general literature concentration. Helen Everbach, literature major, general literature concentration. Aaron Ficht, literature major, general literature concentration. Anna Fields, literature major, creative writing concentration with intensive language coursework. Alena Fletcher, literature major, creative writing concentration. Paige Forrester, literature major, creative writing concentration. Grant Freeman, literature major, general literature concentration. Alexander Galdemetz, literature major, creative writing concentration. Jas Galley, literature major, general literature concentration. Mackenzie Gannon, literature major, creative writing concentration. Taylor Garvey, literature major, general literature concentration. Amber Gabber Goldsmith, literature minor. Willow Gelman, literature major, creative writing concentration. Bo Gillett, literature major, general literature concentration. Luan Gunman de Alancastro, literature major, creative writing concentration. Aiden Gonzalez, literature major, general literature concentration. Naomi Gonzalez, literature major, general literature concentration. Declan Graham, literature major, creative writing concentration. Joseph Griffin, literature major, creative writing concentration. Amber Grizzle, literature minor.
Rihanna Hackley, literature minor. Saba Hakimzada Abiane, literature major, creative writing concentration. Nadine Hamden, literature major, creative writing concentration. Nehal Hanif, literature minor. Dale Hansen, literature minor. Rosalind Saraswati Hansen, literature major, general literature concentration. Melanie Hera, literature major, general literature concentration. Liza Harried, literature major, general literature concentration. Kira Harsani, literature major, general literature concentration. Lila Erin Hart, literature major, general literature concentration. Audrey Hebert, literature major, general literature concentration. Benjamin Hernandez, literature major, general literature concentration. Cameron Sirena Hernandez, literature major, creative writing concentration. Margaret Hethwick, literature major, general literature concentration. Sam Howard, literature major, creative writing concentration. Kirsten Ikara, literature major, creative writing concentration. Rowan Kovchuk, literature major, general literature concentration. Milo Minyoung Kim, literature minor. Aubrey Niddle, literature minor. Claire Knutson, literature major, creative writing concentration. Romy Kraft, literature major, general literature concentration. Madeline Lara Villalpando, literature major, general literature concentration. Matthew Lazarus, literature major, general literature concentration.
Jamia Lincoln, Nicole Lawton, Savannah Lyon, Daphne Macias, Kayla Macris, Joseph Maloney, Grace Matthews, Jillian McFerrin, Elisa McIsaac, Janet Christina Medline, Claire Miller Willahan, Emily Mitchell, Angie Monroy, Jenna Mosick, Kristen Mundy, Sarah Nahar, Nitsa Nava Prado, Nicole Nikanorov, Rebecca Northrop, Frankie Olivares, Amanda Peterson, Kennedy Peterson, Emily Cho.
Peyton Risner, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Ariana Rodriguez, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Bruce Rodriguez, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Kayla Rubin, Literature Minor. Jonquil Rumberger, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Neva Ryan, Literature Major, Creative Writing Concentration. Arushi Saharan, Literature Minor. Isabel Salazar, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. David Sanguinetti, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Sabrina Schmier, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Charlotte Schmuck, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Guthrie Schooner, Literature Minor. Rosa Skupine, Literature Major, Creative Writing Concentration. Chloe Selznick, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Renata Cervulo, Italian Studies Major. Sashi Sharma, Literature Major, Creative Writing Concentration. Sheila Sharma, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Vernon Shaw, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Isabel Scharouse, Literature Major, Creative Writing Concentration. Amanda Sierra, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Samuel Simmons, Literature Major, Creative Writing Concentration. Cynthia Smith, Literature Minor. Leighton Smith, Literature Major, Greek Literature Concentration. Emma Spakoski, Literature Major, Creative Writing Concentration. Malia Starita, Literature Minor.
Miranda Anapol, Literature Major, Creative Writing Concentration. Robert Gribble, Literature Major, Creative Writing Concentration. Sofia Basia Voskobojnik, Literature Minor. Joelle Holenhurst, Literature Major, Creative Writing Concentration. Emily Le Nguyen, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Alexander Stutoff, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Kelly Swenson, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Dale Tibbles, Literature Major, Creative Writing Concentration. Andrea Tovar Ramirez, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Richard Trejo, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Jared Uanishi, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Yeslia Valencia, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration. Delaney Van Riper, Literature Major, General Literature Concentration with Intensive Language Coursework. Oksana Vega Curiel, Literature Major, Creative Writing Concentration. Holly Vorsanger, literature major, creative writing concentration. Jasmine Wadalawala, literature minor. Allison Watkins, literature major, general literature concentration. Alexander Webb, literature minor. Megan Weinzelbaum, literature major, creative writing concentration. Cameron Welsh, literature major, general literature concentration. Gregory Wilkinson, literature major, general literature concentration. Kat Winkleman, literature major, general literature concentration with intensive language coursework. Andrew Woodward, literature major, general literature concentration. Conrad Wright, literature minor. Clytie Shu, literature major, creative writing concentration. Ricky Yang, literature major, general literature concentration. And Zixuan Yang, literature major, general literature concentration.
Good evening, everyone. Buonasera. I was asked to read a poem in closing, in part to give you a reprieve from the reading of names, but I felt resistant to reading a single voice. So I've made you a cento out of the lines of 11 poets whose work I love. Of course, I want to acknowledge them. So you'll have to forgive me. Before I read the poem, I'm going to read their names. I like the reading of names. It's a reminder that we're few among many. Gwendolyn Brooks, Jean Valentine, Ari Banyas, Jennifer Chang, Matthew Olsman, Jenny George, Suji Kwok Kim, Bei Dao, Lucille Clifton, Ocean Vong, Sandra Lim. Commencement. A beginning, act, or fact of coming into existence, from the Old French, to begin. Do not be afraid of no, who has so far, so very far to go. The one you wanted to be is the one you are. Come play. Can we all come to our windows? Poetry has nothing to do with fact, though both are made things. When they tell you the world is small, don't believe them. Half of everything is invisible. Let uncertainty take you into the forest, leaf by leaf. Go in groups, embrace each other closely. Live where you can, be happy as you can. The most beautiful part of your body is where it's headed. Remember, loneliness is still time spent with the world, and no one can evict us from books. Wild congratulations to the literature and Italian graduates of 2021. Congratulazioni.
Hi, my name is Carla Ferchero, and I'm the chair of the literature department. and I'm here to announce this year's Literature Department prizes. These prizes are adjudicated by the Undergraduate Program Committee, a group of faculty who review all the nominations and determine the recipient of each prize. The Best Undergraduate Essay Prize is awarded to a literature major or minor for the best essay written for any literature course. Clyde Shu, whose concentration is creative writing, is the recipient of this prize for her essay, The Mouth and Its Appetite for Voice and Silence. The mentor was Professor Jennifer Tsong. Clyde also received a UCSC Deans and Chancellors Award, which recognizes excellence in research and creativity among undergraduates for work related to her other major, which is art. Shu's project was For Each Name, a Color, For Each Color, a Name. The mentor for that project was Professor Laurie Palmer of the Art Department. The Best Senior Essay Prize is awarded for the best essay prepared for the department's exit requirement. Jenny Cordier, whose concentration is general literature, and Julia Conger, whose concentration is also general literature, will each receive a Best Senior Essay Prize. Cordier receives the prize for Gone to Sea, Individual Exceptionalism Makes for Social Disorder in Boccaccio's Medieval Tales. The mentor was Professor Sharon Kinoshita. Conger receives the prize for The Decameron, Lost Manuscript, Day 5, Tale 11. Professor Sharon Kinoshita also mentored this project. The Best Senior Creative Writing Project Prize in Fiction is awarded to a student in the creative writing concentration and prepared for the department's exit requirement. Willow Gelfman is the recipient of the Best Senior Creative Writing Project Prize in Fiction for her story, Atonement. Her mentor was Professor Jennifer Tsong. The Literature Best Senior Creative Writing Project Prize in Poetry is awarded to a student in the concentration and prepared for the department's exit requirement. Fallon Bach is the recipient of the Best Senior Creative Writing Project Prize in Poetry for the collection of poems, The Opening, mentored by Professor Ronaldo Wilson. The department would also like to recognize the winner of the 2021 David A. Kaddish Humanities Scholarship Award. This prize, which is awarded by the UCSC Humanities Division, goes to Anne Nyland, literature major in the creative writing concentration. Congratulations to you all.